History logo. Home topics. European history. Ukraine has seen centuries of conflict. Ukraine has seen centuries of conflict. Ukraine has long endured battles, with Russia's 2022 invasion only the latest in a series of wars, rebellions, raids and pogroms to take place there. By Jesse Greenspan. Updated July 11, 2023. Original October 5, 2022. Copy page link. A wheat field in Mykolaiv, Ukraine. Mykola Sosiukin, EYEEM, Getty Images. The land within the borders of modern Ukraine, a Texas-sized nation often called the breadbasket of Europe, has long been coveted by the region's powers. During antiquity, the Greeks, Romans and Huns, along with a slew of lesser-known empires, from the Scythians to the Sarmatians, each established a presence there at one point or another. More recently, from the Middle Ages to the present, the Vikings, Mongols, Lithuanians, Poles, Russians, Ottomans, Swedes, French, Austrians, Germans, Romanians and Czechoslovakians have all marched in, with some staying far longer than others. Never fully independent until the collapse of the Soviet Union, though there were periods of semi-autonomy, Ukraine has been divided up and stuck back together several times. Fittingly, the name, Ukraine, means, on the edge, or, borderland, and its national anthem declares, Ukraine has not yet perished. Through it all, Ukrainian history and identity has been a highly contentious topic, particularly in the context of the 2022 Russian invasion. Russian leader Vladimir Putin, for example, has stated that Ukrainians and Russians are one people, and that Ukraine isn't a real state, an echo of when earlier generations of Russians referred to Ukraine as Little Russia. Yet many Ukrainians vehemently disagree with these characterizations, pointing to their country's distinct language, culture, traditions and shared civic principles. A lot of really important history that Putin and Russian nationalists see as their ancestry happened in Ukraine, says Stephen Brain, an associate professor at Mississippi State University, who specializes in Russian history. He adds that, for very long periods, Russia and Ukraine were part of the same state. On the other hand, Brain says, Kiev was the capital of its own state before Moscow existed. Ukraine spent long stretches outside Russian control, and, according to Brain, Ukrainians increasingly do perceive themselves as a separate nationality. Below is a timeline, dating back a millennium, showing how Ukraine arrived at this point. Vikings, Mongols, Lithuania, Poland. 1037. Kievan Rus, construction of St. Sophia Cathedral in Kiev, which, in refurbished form, still stands today, marks a high point of the Kievan Rus Principality. Purportedly founded by Vikings in the 9th century, Kievan Rus grew to encompass present-day Ukraine, Belarus and part of Russia. As historian Anna Reed writes, it constituted the Eastern Slavs' first great civilization, and at the time was the largest kingdom in Europe. Modern Ukrainians, Belarusians and Russians all trace their heritage to Kievan Rus, leading to fierce, unanswerable debates about whether Ukraine was once part of Russia, or Russia once part of Ukraine, says Yoshiko Herrera, a professor of political science at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and an expert on Russian and post-Soviet politics. 1240. Mongol invasion. A Mongol army commanded by Batu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan, thunders into Europe and captures Kiev, along with many other nearby lands. Much of present-day Ukraine and Russia subsequently comes under the control of the so-called Golden Horde, a segment of the vast Mongol Empire. 1363. Lithuania. Lithuanian forces defeat the Mongols at the Battle of Blue Waters and incorporate much of present-day Ukraine into the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. For the next several hundred years, Lithuania and its ally Poland, with whom it would gradually unify, hold dominant sway in the area. 1476. Ivan III of Muscovy, as Russia was then called, declares his independence from the Golden Horde by refusing to pay tribute. Previously, as Brain points out, the Muscovites had cooperated with, and emulated the Mongols. Ivan likewise claims a portion of present-day Ukraine, the first Russian leader to do so, leading him into direct conflict with Lithuania. 1569. Polish-Lithuania Commonwealth. Lithuania and Poland officially complete their merger, in part to combat Russia, forming the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. 1648. Cossack Rebellion. A Cossack rebellion against Polish-Lithuanian rule scores a surprise number of initial victories, which results in the formation of a semi-autonomous state known as the Hetmanate, an inspiration to future Ukrainian nationalists. However, The Cossacks also participate in pogroms that kill an estimated 14,000 to 20,000 Jews over the course of just a few months. As historian Serhiy Plokhy writes, entire communities were all but wiped from the map. 1654. The ruin, abandoned by their Crimean Tatar allies, the Cossacks turn for protection to Russia, which they perceive as more amenable to their interests than Poland-Lithuania. They took the best deal that was available, Brain says. They didn't think they'd subsumed their will to anyone else, but, over time, Moscow didn't see it that way. Years of fighting subsequently ensue, with Russian, Polish, Ottoman and Cossack armies battling it out for control of present-day Ukraine in what's sometimes referred to as the ruin. 1667. Divided, without consulting the Cossacks, who nonetheless retain a degree of autonomy, Russia and Poland-Lithuania sign a truce dividing Ukraine between them with the Dnieper River as the boundary. Birth of Russian Empire. Seen from the Battle of Poltava. Found in the collection of the State Tretyakov Gallery, Moscow. Fine Art Images, Heritage Images, Getty Image. Seen from the Battle of Poltava, in a painting from the collection of the State Tretyakov Gallery, Moscow. 1708. Russia wins control of eastern Ukraine. During the Great Northern War, King Charles XII of Sweden detours into Ukraine as part of his ill-fated invasion of Russia and secures the support of the main Cossack leader at the time, though other Cossacks fight for Russia. The following year, Charles XII's force is crushed at the Battle of Poltava, thereby cementing Russian control over the eastern half of Ukraine and, as Brain explains, marking the birth of the Russian Empire. 1783. Catherine the Great annesses Crimea. After a series of wars with the Ottoman Empire, Russian Tsarina Catherine the Great annesses the Crimean Peninsula and secures access to the strategically important Black Sea. At roughly the same time, Catherine finishes dissolving the Cossack Hetmanate state, as part of what would become a long-running campaign to Russify Ukraine. 1795. Russia gains majority of Ukrainian land. Poland and Lithuania cease to exist after a third and final partition divides up their lands between the Prussian, Austrian and Russian empires. Austria grabs a chunk of present-day Ukraine in the southwest, but Russia gains the vast majority of Ukrainian lands for the first time.